Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of October 22nd, 2012. Welcome to the site to the new members and welcome back to the old. Don't forget, the Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer them, so please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it's the best way to get the most out of your subscription here on the site. Really, there is no other site that I'm aware of that has basically user-driven content in character animation the way this is. So if you're here on a free trial, you may as well send in a question. Really, give it a try. You might just get a video answering your question here on the site. So take advantage of it while you can, and welcome if you are on a free trial. If you don't know, anyone who signs up for a free trial in the month of October is automatically entered into a chance to get a lifetime membership for free. And the person that refers the member that gets the lifetime membership also gets a lifetime membership. So there's still a few days left to get into that contest, and hopefully, good luck to you to win it. And also, there is a webcast on the 25th. I know in perpetuity, as this video gets older and older, this is going to be old news. But anyway, if you're watching this during the week that this video went up, then don't forget, please don't miss the webcast on the 25th from noon to 2 p.m. That's Thursday, noon to 2 p.m. Pacific time. I'm doing a demo reel review for people who are going to CTN. And if you're not going to CTN, that's, sign up anyway, and I'll review your reel after we get through all the people that are going. So sign up in the forums. You can't miss it if you want to get a review. Okay. So let's talk shop. This is a question, not really a video mail question. It was actually asked in the forums a long time ago in the resource wish list for a lecture. And I responded to the person. I didn't think that it was enough for a lecture, but I do think it's enough for a video mail, and I did want to just talk about it a little bit. So why don't we check it out? Okay, so obviously the business for animators is it could be a course that could be an entire semester long, or if you're going to talk about just kind of like the key points for just like keeping business going, it's very short. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the things that I learned about just like making the business run. And hopefully it will be valuable to you, and you'll get something out of it. The first and foremost, I would like to say that getting basically a freelance client list, or whatever you want to call it, like getting to the point where you can kind of like either survive or make a basically business out of having your own clients and doing your own work, doing your own thing. It takes a long time to get there, and I don't want to discourage anybody. I never want to discourage anybody, but I do want you to be realistic about the time that it takes and the effort that it takes in order to put together kind of a client list like that. My client list is nothing really to brag about. It is probably right in line where it should be for having about 14 years in the industry, but only 6 years as a company. So, but I mean that is the deal there. So the very, very, very first thing that I wanted to say about being in a business for yourself as an animator is that I would say almost all businesses that start in this industry start by people who have a project that is too big for them to do, and they just get their friends together and they do it. And that's fine, and that's great, and that's what I did. However, you need to make sure that you don't get a false sense that you're actually, in business now just because you've got that one project. Okay, because that one project can capitalize you to a certain extent. You can use a profit from that to buy equipment and software and rent a space and whatever, and that's awesome, and you should do that if you have the opportunity, barring a couple of pretty serious discussions and research and a lot of work put back into the business to make sure that you don't have nothing after that it's done. So that first big project that starts your company, or basically makes it so you quit your job at the bookstore or the medical insurance claims billing adjustment bureau or wherever you work, that's great that it gave you the confidence to do that, but one project that comes along that is enough to like start a business comes along very, very infrequently, unless that person or that company that gave it to you is clearly in the middle of business that is generating more work. Okay, so one example would be if a local agency, and there are a lot of small agencies. Okay, these are agencies that have clients that are like local plumbing companies and electricians, local restaurants, that kind of thing. Small scale, like microeconomics in terms of the scope of the work that they do. Small agencies might get a client that has a lot of repeat business, a lot of repeat stuff. So that would be great if you could get in with a small agency and tell them like, yeah, I'll do like little 10-second animated characters jumping around for commercial for the plumber or whatever, and it'll cost this much. And maybe we can do one new you can talk them into, you can convince them that we need a new commercial every 3 months. If it's an electrician, maybe it's like this lightning bolt that jumps around on the wires or something like that, and then we fade to their logo or whatever it is. All right, and the agency has a large part of coming up with that creative. That's called the creative. Even though sometimes it feels like that the word creative is used almost like as an oxymoron in this industry. Normally it's the agency's job to come up with creative, but you can also push them. And if you're doing it on your own, you're probably offering them animation at rates that they've never heard before. They're so low because all you really need to take care of is your expenses. You don't have to, pad the CEO's pockets with cash. You don't have to, if you're doing it out of your house, you don't have to pay for, pay for a space and parking and meals and all that stuff. That's all built in. And one thing that you can do, at least if you're in America, I'm sure it's the same in most countries, but you can start writing off a portion of your rent. If you're working from home, you can say, okay, a quarter of my living space is actually my home office, and then you can start writing that rent off. And the internet, you say the internet is now an expense and all that stuff. So you'll have to look into what kind of benefits you can give yourself if you go into work for yourself, and that's a whole different conversation. But my overall piece of advice mainly is that you need to be very sure that you are, before you bet the farm on your business, you have to have more than one client, and you have to have more than one project lined up. Okay, there are ways to get that one big project done without like starting a business instead. And what it normally means is that you keep your job, and then like your animator friends who are out of work, who want to work on something, you can just manage them and take a much smaller piece of the profit because you're not there and you're not working on it. And then you still have your day job, and then maybe this person will come back with more and more and more work, and you consider, okay, now I have enough of work coming to me that I could actually quit my job, work on it myself, and make a living. So getting clients for people who live outside of a really huge advertising or commercial hub, it is going to be those those micro clients. A lot of stuff is being done online now though. and people are searching for people online. Craigslist is okay. If you want to be a remote animator, I mean, that's an entire different thing altogether. I wouldn't call that basically freelance. I would call that basically, you're sort of like an animator on the line, but you're just working from your house. It's a little bit different than bidding projects and doing that kind of thing. But once you do get in touch with a client, everything that's said on the phone that is important at all, write it down and send it back to them in an email. You want everything that is decided and kind of, pivotal to the discussion to be in writing, so that you can always refer to it. Also, it's just a good business practice to memorialize all your conversations. So that means if they say, hey, I've got a potential project. It's like 30 seconds of animation, 2 characters, starts in April, are you available? Do you think you can do it? Whatever. And you just write them back an email. Thank you for calling me about the project. As I understood, it's 30 seconds, 2 characters, starts in April. We are ready to do it, and we're excited to hear more. Please send us anything you can, from storyboards to designs, whatever you have on hand. Have a good day, that kind of thing. And then once you have had enough phone calls and emails back and forth that you are going to start, I normally send something called a deal memo. Now deal memos can range from 1 page to like 30 pages. I've had some contracts with clients that have been excessive. They've been dozens of pages, and they really, the rule is they're protecting themselves from you, okay? And you need to make sure a few things. If somebody comes along and they've got this project and they start speaking the world about how much more work they're going to do and all that stuff, like, I would be very afraid of that person. In fact, the clients that have been the best for me have been the ones that basically are very humble and not very excited about what's going on. Excitement's good, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they haven't been the ones that are like, oh, we're gonna do this and this and this, it's gonna be so cool and whatever. They're like, we have this, we need this done, can you do it? That kind of thing. And then they come back and we work together well. The deal memo I use with Fox, whenever I do work with them, is 1 page. All right, and no amount of legal paperwork is gonna protect you from a jerk. That's basically it. So just be wary of when you're making deal memos, or when you're presented with a deal memo, what it looks like, and if they're really trying to protect themselves from you, you might want to just take it a little easy and make sure that they're serious about how they're conducting their business, basically. Now, what a deal memo will have, what you need to make sure it has, is a scope, and the scope means basically a 10,000 foot view of the entire project. So it's kind of like the scope of our work is to create 30 seconds of animated content in HD format, to be used in TV commercials or something like that. Then a description of all the items that are going into that and their cost. It kind of looks like a memo, an invoice, but you'll use that deal memo to generate your invoices. All right. So there'll be another section that says 2 characters. Modeling, rigging, and animating 1 character is this much. Modeling, animating, rigging, another character is this much. Environments, backgrounds, effects, compositing, output, miscellaneous things like, if they need a DVD, you got to charge them for that kind of thing. All the items that are involved in the project and their prices. A rough schedule. You don't want that schedule to be actually too strict in the deal memo, because more than 90% of the time, if something changes, the client's going to change it, and then they'll ask you to kind of figure out how that mixes everything up. If that deal memo, normally what I say in a deal memo is on or about August 22nd or whatever, on or about. And that kind of leaves it open, okay, a week or so of kind of push if they start screwing around. Okay? And then most importantly, this is why the deal memo needs to be signed, is a description of all the circumstances under which overages will occur. So you say, we will turn in all deliveries twice, and you'll have 2 rounds of notes. You'll have a chance to comment twice on every single delivery. Any changes to an asset or a delivery after those 2 rounds will mean an overage charged at this rate. You have to put that in there. Otherwise, you'll never get any more money out of them, ever. Delivery emails, when you're delivering something, if you're sending them something over the internet, it should have the same language as the deal memo. So in case there's a dispute, you can just compare them. This is what it said in the email, this is what it said in the memo, and this is what we delivered. It's the exact same thing. This is what we talked about. Also, you have to invoice normally to get payment. Some of my clients, they just like send the money and they're like, crap, we need your invoice for like this project like 2 months ago. Will you send an invoice? And whatever, work it out. But most of them need you to invoice. You need to invoice early. Invoice like weeks before and say on the invoice when the payment is due. Do that so that when the time comes around and they don't have the money, they can't like play with you and say like, oh, we need your invoice, and we take 2 weeks to process invoices. That's happened to me. So you invoice like 2 weeks in advance, and you'll say like the terms are on the invoice. You know, you just please pay by the term that's on the invoice. And if there's any fooling around, then you have everything listed. To call them out and say, you know, you need to do this, this, and this. Okay? I like to invoice for 50% of the project up front. Now, a lot of clients, especially small-time clients and first-time clients, don't like that. They normally like third. Okay? However, you need to put into your memo that you're going to invoice for whatever amount it is. I'll do mine as an example. 50% up front. Another 25% of the money at the project halfway point, and then you say what date that is or what milestone that is. You know, all the character designs are finished or whatever. And then the final 25% for delivery. Not on this date, not blah, 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 for delivery. Meaning we have an agreement that when everything is approved, that I get a check right when I deliver the final stuff. Otherwise you don't get it, and that you have to be very strict about that. Okay, and I promise you, as much as they tell you, oh, you will get paid, you don't worry about it. Anything they say, they are more over the coals than you are if you don't deliver that thing for final, because you'll have an email. And you'll have and if they do it over the phone, like, oh, this is approved, whatever, you'll send them an email and memorialize it, like you said on the phone. Thank you for approvals of all of the assets and this thing. We're happy that this thing is approved, whatever. Can we come pick up a check and we'll hand over the project on DVD or whatever it is. And if they're like, no, don't worry about it, we'll pay you or whatever, no matter what, they need that DVD. If it's a small agency, they're still completely beholden to their client, even if it's a plumber or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with plumbing. I'm just saying, you know, the size of the client doesn't matter. If they need to get that commercial on local television by Friday, and the station needs it on Thursday night, and it's you know, it's Thursday afternoon, then guess what? You're getting your money. You're getting your money because you're like, I did everything. We have a written. Everything is in writing that this is approved. This basically represents, you know, the product that you need to buy with that last 25%. You say, just do it. Let's just do a switch. There you go. All right. And that's the kind of the crappy part about being in business for yourself, is that you have to be. Sometimes you have to put your foot down and be really, 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 you know, kind of stubborn, and it's hard. But any client that gives you grief about being that person is not a client you want. Okay? So don't think that you're going to have to be like this with every client. You have to be like this, and good clients won't test this. They won't keep on pushing against you, turning you into this person. They won't, and those are the ones you want to keep. Okay, so don't worry about that, but you still have to be that person just in case. Okay, sorry about that. Just a quick edit. My phone rang. You have to number your invoices. Make sure your invoices are numbered. They are sequential, and call out the items or the delivery or whatever, again, exactly like the memo that you're paying for. So if there was a milestone delivery, all the character models are approved, right? Then on your memo, you write milestone delivery, all character models approved, and then this much money. All right? And then when you number your invoice, ask your client to put the invoice number on the check. Say, please put the invoice number in the memo, okay? And this is why you want them to do that. It's because on your check, a check is actually a legal document. If you cash a check, you are agreeing to anything that's written on that check. So if they give you a check, let's say you're owed $1,000, and they give you a check that's $500, and they say like, oh, you know what? I can write you $500 now, I'll write you another $500 next week, all right? And then you look at the check and it says invoice, let's say it's 2010-1, whatever. Okay, invoice 2010-1 paid in full. Because it says paid in full, if you cash that check, guess what? You're screwed, because you have agreed that you have been paid in full by cashing that check, by taking that person's money. Okay, so the check is a contract as well. This is why you need to make sure everything is on the level. All right, just take a close look at that check and make sure that it's that it references, you know, the invoice number. Okay. Now I know a lot of this sounds. I want to caveat all this by saying I have to legally that I am not qualified to give legal advice. Nor am I qualified to give tax advice. However, all that said, everything that I've said in this video mail so far is based on years of experience dealing with good clients and bad. But I do want to say this, just to cap all this off. If you do find a great client, you can do very, very, very well, and you can be happy, and you can do, you know, what you want. There is the danger, even the best animators can get hooked up with the worst client. And just because you are like really good at what you do, and you might even be looking out for all of this stuff, like I thought I was, you can still eventually come across a bad client that can be very dangerous to you. And not dangerous like physically, like they'll come to your house and slash your tires, but dangerous financially and your time. If I was to add up all of the projects that clients have not paid or have changed everything and I lost money or whatever, it would be probably by this point, it was a different number before when I used to tell a story, but by this point it's about 100 grand. I'm out. Okay, so just know that doing your best, you need to know that there are circumstances you cannot get out of, and you'll be in a little bit of trouble. Okay. So I hope that doesn't completely discourage you from doing this. I will put an example of an invoice with this video mail that you can download and take a look at. I don't think I'm allowed to show the deal memos that I use because of NDA, but I'll check into that, and if I can, I'll show it to you as well. Basically, really, if you're going to take one piece of advice from all of this, it's that anything that is ever said that is important to the project, write it down and put it into an email and send it back to them. They'll start getting the picture and start sending you stuff in emails as well, and stop trying to do things on the phone. You'll train your client. In fact, client training is a huge part of running a successful business. Getting them into shape to work with you how you need them to work with you. It's very important. Okay. So again, I hope this doesn't discourage you. If you have any more questions about this, I love talking about it, but I just didn't think that I could fill up an entire lecture with it. That's why it's a video mail. And I know it's a long one, but you know, suffice it to say, there's there's more, but you know, it's a little bit esoteric, and it's kind of like focused down, like what do you do exactly specifically with this one thing I can answer. But generally, that's pretty much all I've gathered in my 6 years of dealing with clients and the business of animation. Okay, so thank you for sending in that question, or I thank you for asking the question in the resource wish list. You can send in questions if you're on a free trial. Please send one in, just see what happens, okay? The address to send them to is webmaster@kennyroy.com. Thanks a lot. I'll see you guys on Thursday for the webcast. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.